All right, let's dive right in to Dutch visa and entry requirements. We're going to make this as clear as possible so you can feel good about tackling anything Dutch immigration throws your way.
It's definitely a good time for a deep dive on this. Things are changing, with the political scene shifting. The whole Dutch immigration system is getting a bit more, well, complex.
For sure, for sure. So where do we even begin? Maybe with the basics, like different types of stays, short-term, long-term, that kind of thing.
Definitely. It seems basic, but you're right. There's a lot of little details people miss.
Okay, so short-term stays first. For most entrepreneurs, if you're not from the EU, you're looking at that Schengen visa. But here's a fun one. British citizens, they can travel to the Netherlands without a visa right now, for short stays at least.
True, true. Although, they do need to keep an eye on their passport. Make sure it was issued less than 10 years before they arrive, and that it's valid for at least 3 months after they plan to leave the Schengen area.
Right, those passport details. Always important. Okay, so that's for quick trips. But for entrepreneurs who want to stay longer, or anyone who wants to really set up in the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's when we get to the fun stuff, the residence and work permits.
It's like a lot of paperwork.
It can be, but it's crucial. If you're serious about being in the Netherlands for the long haul, usually you'll need what's called a provisional residence permit, or MVV for short. Think of it as your entry ticket for anything longer than 90 days.
Okay, so that's step one.
Yeah.
And
then comes the residence permit. They call it the VVR. That's your permission to actually, live in the Netherlands. And in many cases, to work, too. It's all part of what they call in Dutch, the visum ontoelatingseisen,
wow.
which basically translates to, visa and entry requirements.
For MVV to get in, VVR to stay in.
Yeah.
Got it. But what about, I've heard there's some new updates, especially for, highly skilled professionals.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Netherlands is really trying to make things attractive for those folks. They've updated their EU blue card regulations. It's a pretty good deal now, especially if you're from outside the EU.
Okay, give me the details. What's changed with this EU blue card?
Well, for one thing, it used to be valid for 4 years max. Now they bumped it up to 5. So you have more time to, settle in.
5 years, that's a big difference.
It is. And there's more. Now, if you have the blue card, you can actually work in the Netherlands for up to 90 days. Within a 180-day period. And you don't need a separate work permit for that, so it's pretty flexible.
Wow, that's pretty good for, short-term projects or if you need to travel back and forth. What about if you already have a blue card from another EU country?
Oh, that's even better. If you've been living in another EU country with that blue card for at least 12 months, you can come to the Netherlands and work for more than 90 days. No extra visa needed. They've really streamlined things.
This blue card is sounding better and better. But before we go too deep on that, what about, I know there's a program for recent grads and researchers.
You mean the orientation year?
Yeah, that one. Yeah?
That's a great program. Basically, it gives recent graduates and researchers a 1-year residence permit to explore job opportunities or even, start their own business.
And the best part, employers don't need a separate work permit for them during that year. It's a win-win.
It really is. It shows how much the Netherlands values bringing in bright minds from everywhere.
It does. It does. But let's be real. There's been talk of changes to the whole immigration system, right?
Yeah, there have.
Yeah.
With the political shifts and all, there's been discussion about stricter rules for asylum, more control over migration in general, even potentially reducing the number of international students they accept.
Wow, that's a pretty big shift.
It is. Now, these are still just proposals or being debated, but it does seem like things might get a little stricter with immigration.
So what should businesses and entrepreneurs do? Just, stay informed.
Definitely stay informed, keep up with the official news, see what happens with these policy changes, and think about how it might affect, hiring strategies, especially if you're relying on people from other countries. It might also be a good idea to look into some other visa options, like the startup visa or the self-employed residence permit, just to have more options,
So basically be flexible and be prepared.
Okay.
Good advice. Now, before we move on, let's get back to that EU blue card for a minute. Seems like a pretty big deal, especially with the updates.
It is. It's really designed for those highly skilled professionals and entrepreneurs who are serious about staying in the Netherlands.
So break it down for me. What is it really, and what does it offer?
Okay, so the EU Blue Card. It's a work and residence permit, all in one, and it's designed for, highly skilled people from outside the EU who want to live and work in, any of participating EU countries.
So it's kind of like a golden ticket to Europe for the right people.
You could say that. It comes with a lot of benefits. You get that extended duration, up to 5 years now. After 18 months, you can move around the EU more easily, family reunification is easier, and it's generally a smoother path to permanent residency.
Wow. Sounds like a pretty good deal. But of course, there are requirements, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You need a valid work contract, or at least a job offer that lasts for at least 6 months. You need to show you have a higher education qualification, and of course, you need to meet the salary requirements.
Makes sense. They want to make sure you can actually contribute to the economy. Okay, so in the next part of our deep dive, let's break down those requirements and really see if this EU Blue Card might be the right move for you.
Sounds good to me. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Before we get too deep into all the specifics of the EU Blue Card, let's talk about the salary requirements. That can be a bit of a sticking point, but actually, there's some good news, especially if you're a recent graduate.
Oh, good. Salary stuff can be intimidating. What's the deal with the recent grad thing?
Well, if you graduated within the last 3 years, there's a lower salary threshold. It's not as high as for someone with more experience. Makes the Blue Card a bit easier to get if you're just starting out.
That's great for anyone trying to, start their career in Europe. So what kind of numbers are we talking?
Okay, so for experienced professionals, the minimum right now is $5,331 gross per month. That's not including the 8% holiday allowance, by the way. But for recent grads, it's $4,265.
Oh, wow. That's a big difference. Definitely makes it more attainable.
Exactly. Shows that the Netherlands is really serious about attracting talent at all levels. They get it, both experienced people and those just starting out are valuable.
It's a smart move for sure.
Yeah.
Investing in the future.
Oh.
Okay, so we've covered the basics of the Blue Card, the perks, the salary stuff.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture, immigration in the Netherlands in general?
Right. Like we said, things are changing politically, lots of discussions about, what immigration policy will look like.
And it's important for anyone listening, right? Because those changes could really affect their plans, whether they want to move there or start a business.
Absolutely. One thing that keeps coming up is this focus on attracting the right talent, people who will really benefit the Dutch economy.
So it's not just about letting everyone in. It's more strategic, making sure immigration helps the country grow.
Exactly. And that's where the EU Blue Card really shines. It's designed for those highly skilled people, the ones who can really contribute to key industries, the ones driving innovation and growth in the Netherlands.
So even if some immigration policies get stricter, the Blue Card seems like a good bet.
I think so. Netherlands needs those global talents.
Yeah.
And they're making it easier, streamlining things, offering incentives.
Makes sense. Got to stay competitive.
Oh.
Okay, enough big picture stuff. Let's get practical. Someone decides the Blue Card is right for them. What do they actually do?
Well, step one, of course, is paperwork. You got to gather all the documents, passport, proof of your education, work contract, or job offer. And of course, proof that you meet those salary requirements.
That's like a scavenger hunt.
It's a bit of a process, yeah. But it's all about showing you're serious, that you meet the criteria and you're ready to make the Netherlands home.
Okay, documents gathered, then what?
Then you submit everything to the IND. That's the Immigration and Naturalization Service. They handle all the visa and residence permit applications.
They're the gatekeepers. Is the application online, or do you have to do it in person?
You can often start it online, which is nice, but it can depend on your nationality. So it's always best to check the IND website. They have all the up-to-date info.
Do your research. That's key. And if you get stuck, contact the IND directly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're there to help. And speaking of help, one common question is about the processing time. How long does it take to get an answer?
Yeah, that's important for planning.
It is. They usually try to make a decision within 90 days, once they have a complete application, of course. Sometimes it takes longer, if it's complicated or they need more documents.
So apply early, just in case.
Always a good idea.
Okay, what about fees? Applying for these things always costs money.
It does. Again, best to check the IND website because those fees can change, but you're probably looking at a few €100.
Investment in the future, right?
Exactly. It's what it costs to chase your dreams, especially in a place like the Netherlands.
Okay, so let's say everything goes smoothly. Blue Card approved, you've arrived. What are the next steps, like settling in, all that?
First thing, you need to register with your local municipality, where you'll be living, that is. It's mandatory for everyone. That's how you get your official address, your citizen service number, the BSN, they call it.
So basically getting your official paperwork sorted.
Exactly. And that BSN, you need it for everything. Bank account, job, healthcare.
Speaking of healthcare, how does that work with a Blue Card?
Pretty easy, actually. You have the right to access the Dutch healthcare system, which is, pretty great. Good quality and affordable. You do need to get basic health insurance, but that's mandatory for everyone in the Netherlands.
Makes sense. Keeps the system running.
Exactly. Now, one thing that can be tough, especially in the bigger cities, is housing. It can be competitive.
Yeah. Finding an apartment in Amsterdam, that's a whole other challenge.
It is. My advice, start looking early. Don't wait until you get here. Look online, maybe work with a real estate agent. And don't forget about networking. Talk to people who live there. They might have some insider tips.
A preparation and connections, always helpful.
For sure. While we're talking practicalities, let's talk cost of living. Always something people want to know.
Yeah. Gotta know what to expect financially.
It's comparable to most of Western Europe, can vary depending on where you live and your lifestyle, of course. But if you have a good salary, it's comfortable.
So not a budget destination, but not outrageous either.
Right. And you're getting a lot for your money, high quality of life, great infrastructure, vibrant culture.
Those are important things to consider.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the practical stuff down. But what about the social side? Fitting in, all that.
That's a good point. It's easy to focus on the visa and the apartment, but the Netherlands, as welcoming as it is still a new culture. It takes time to adjust, build a network.
It's about making it feel like home.
Exactly. And that's where things like support networks and expat communities can really help. They can give you guidance, make you feel less alone. And of course, learning the language helps a lot.
Speaking Dutch is a big advantage, I imagine.
It is. Even just the basics. It opens doors, helps you connect with people. There are tons of courses, online and in person. Lots of expats find that immersion is the best way to really get comfortable.
So it's not just about ordering food, it's about really experiencing the culture. What about the Dutch people themselves? What are they like?
They're pretty direct, that's for sure. Practical, down to earth. But they also have a good sense of humor, They care about the environment. They value work-life balance.
Efficient, sustainable, and they like to have fun.
That's about right. And don't forget about the cycling. You'll have to get used to that. It's not just transportation, it's a way of life there.
So get ready to hop on a bike and explore. Okay, before we wrap up this part, let's go back to those potential immigration changes.
Yes. Always good to keep that in mind. Immigration policies, they're always changing, especially now with all the political shifts.
So for anyone feeling a little nervous about that, what should they do?
Don't panic. Change is normal, right? Governments adapt, things evolve. The important thing is to stay informed. Check the official sources like the IND website. Keep up with any announcements from the government.
Be proactive.
Exactly. And if you're really worried, talk to an expert, an immigration lawyer, someone like that. They can give you specific advice.
Always good to have an expert on your side.
For sure. Okay, so as we head into the final part of our deep dive, let's look ahead. What does the future hold for people who choose to make the Netherlands home? What opportunities are there? What challenges?
Yeah, and what about specific scenarios like what if you're an entrepreneur or a student? And of course, more practical tips for navigating the whole immigration system. Stay tuned, we'll cover all that and more. Okay, we're back for the last part of our Dutch visa deep dive. We've covered a lot, short stays, the blue card, all that. But now let's think about the future. What's it actually like to live in the Netherlands?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's a mix of, opportunities and challenges.
Oh, sure. We should be realistic about both. So let's start with the tough stuff. What are some of the hurdles people face when they move to the Netherlands?
Well, we've mentioned it before, housing.
Yeah.
Especially in popular cities like Amsterdam, it can be really hard to find a decent place to live.
Yeah.
And affordable, too.
So yeah, starting that search early is super important.
Yeah. Absolutely. Don't wait until you're there. Start researching online. Look at different neighborhoods. Maybe even talk to people who already live there. They might have some good advice.
Networking, always a good idea. What else? What other challenges?
Integration. Netherlands is a very international country, very welcoming. But still, it takes time to adjust to a new culture, to build a social life.
It's about feeling like you belong, right?
Exactly. That's where things like support groups, expat communities can be really helpful. And of course, learning the language.
Yeah, makes sense. It's not just about the paperwork. It's about really living there.
Exactly. Okay, enough about the challenges. What about the good stuff? What opportunities are waiting in the Netherlands?
Let's hear it.
Well, the economy is strong, high standard of living, healthcare is excellent, education is great. They really value work-life balance, too.
Sounds like a good place to build a life.
It is, and they're very innovative. Lots of startups focus on technology, sustainability, trying to solve big problems.
A good place to be if you're ambitious.
For sure. And the Dutch people, they're great. Friendly, direct, good sense of humor.
Yeah.
It's a pretty tolerant and open-minded society.
Sounds welcoming. Right. Okay, so we've got both sides of the coin. Let's bring it back to the EU blue card. How does that fit into all this?
I think the blue card is going to be a big part of their strategy going forward. It's focused on those highly skilled professionals, the people they really want to attract.
So even with the potential changes to immigration, the blue card seems safe.
I'd say so. They need those skills, that expertise, and they're making it clear they want those people.
So it's good for both sides, Crane. Netherlands gets the talent they need, and people get to live in a great country.
Exactly.
As we wrap up, I just want to say, all this visa stuff, immigration, it can feel overwhelming.
It can. Lots of forms, rules, processes.
But don't give up. There's help out there, resources, experts, online communities.
For sure, you don't have to do it alone.
And most importantly, don't let it stop you from chasing your dreams. Moving to the Netherlands, anything you want to achieve, it might be hard, but it's worth it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Take that first step, be prepared, and you'll get there.
Well, that's our deep dive into Dutch visas and entry requirements. Hope you learned something. And remember, we're always here to help you navigate the world. Until next time, stay curious.